I was initially very excited for Carved because I love horror films, I love pumpkins, and I had a feeling this would be really interesting. And unfortunately, it's not. I also don't know who this is aimed at. I tried to find the UK rating, the certificate for this, and I can't. But it does have an 18 in some countries, which I think is a bit excessive. But at the same time, I think it's maybe a little too scary to be a 12. So, but also it doesn't seem very strong to be a 15. If anybody knows what the UK certification is, please feel free to let me know. Or indeed the US one, because they're usually pretty similar. And honestly, it's very tame. It's not good. I'm kind of disappointed. This was released in 2024. It's directed by Justin Harding. It's written by Harding and Cheryl Meyer. And it's about a bunch of teenagers who are in this pioneer village, which I rather liked. I thought that worked quite well as a setting, as a concept. And something happened to make these pumpkins mutant. And the backstory for this, the reason behind it, I liked. I thought that worked really well. I had a lot of fun with that part of it. But for me, the fun was, oh, this is an interesting concept. I can't wait to see what they do with this. I can't wait to see these mutant pumpkins. We barely got to see anything. Occasionally it was a little gory, and by a little, I do mean teeny, tiny amount. It's not scary. It's mostly just dimly lit. Not all of the time, but a lot of the time it's dimly lit, and we don't necessarily know what's around the next corner, so it creates suspense, but it never delivers. Once we get around that corner, once we find out what's there, it's basically nothing. So it tried, but it didn't work. As a concept, I love it. I think it's an absolutely fantastic concept. The execution is absolutely terrible. The performances are fine. I think everybody did a good job with the material that they had to work with, but the story itself had so much potential, and it didn't even come close to living up to that. It's not scary, but there are a couple of moments where I think maybe it would be rated more than a 12, but then, as I said, I don't think it would be a 15, so I don't know. I'd be very keen to find out what the UK rating is. In fact, okay, so I just went onto Disney Plus, that's where I watched it, and Disney Plus does have the rating, and it's listed as an 18, and I am absolutely traumatized by that. How can that be an 18? First of all, I don't think any film where the protagonist and most of the characters are quite young should be an 18, because if a film is going to be 18, that means viewers are all going to be fully grown adults, and generally films with younger protagonists are not usually liked by fully grown adults as much because it's harder to relate to the characters. I'm not talking about horror films where the protagonist is a demented, haunted child or something, but when your protagonists are teenagers on an adventure, having an 18 rating is not a good idea because your audience is going to be very limited. The young people who can connect with the characters are too young to watch it, and those of us who are older and don't really care for films with a primarily young cast because of that lack of relatability aren't really going to connect with the characters. So I think this was a bad idea for multiple reasons. I think the execution was really terrible. I love the concept. If they ever decide to remake it and do a better job with it, I will absolutely watch it. But for now, I can say that unfortunately, Carved had a lot of potential, but it did not deliver.